Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Pixels podcast for Friday, August 21st, 2020. I hope everyone is doing well. I am joined once again by the Akko Sambo. Welcome in, Akko. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I am doing well. Glad to have you here as always. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump in. Welcome to everyone in chat. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have had a good week. I've been playing a lot of games this week. Not anything super in depth, but I feel like a bunch of little things to talk about. But I'm gonna let you go first and jump in and see what you've been playing.
I haven't been playing too much, so mostly the most that I can report is really that I played more Fall Guys and actually reached level 40, the top level for season 1 in Fall Guys. So that is my success so far.
Wait, you already reached the top level?
Yeah, I mean, if you get a few wins, then it's not easy.
I didn't even know that there were levels.
Yeah, I mean, there's like kind of like a season pass level.
Oh, okay.
That you get, you accumulate experience points to unlock certain things each level. So, and level 40 is the top level. I got there today actually, with a win. So that was fitting.
Nice. I really want to play more of that. I still have only played like maybe an hour and a half. It just looks fun, and I just like the experience. It's just a really quick, fun, jump in, jump out experience.
Exactly, it's something great to also play on the side while you're listening to something or watching something. You don't have to you have to pay attention, but it's not like super. Like, you don't have to be mentally super focused. And just a fun game to play. There are some frustrating things about the game, but I think overall the success really shows that a lot of people really enjoy that.
Yeah. I think if I read on Twitter right, they were already talking about their season 2 that was coming up for their
I think it
season
comes out
pass.
in 40 days or so.
40 days. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Cool. What else? Been playing anything else?
Not much. Some Mafia 3, but other than that, not really had the time to play too much.
That Mafia 1 remaster is dropping pretty soon. I really...
True.
I don't know if I'm going to have time to really jump into it like right when it comes out, but I really want to at some point play that game.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it as well, especially since I'm enjoying Mafia 3 so much. I'm excited to see where that franchise started, and obviously also how then the remake remastered turns out to be.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I'll go ahead and just jump in and mention a bunch of games that I've been playing this week. I guess the main one that I've been streaming is Resident Evil Revelations 2. So I've been continuing on my quest through all of the Resident Evil games, at least the mainline ones. So I've done Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, 4, 5. I played Revelations 1 a long time ago off stream. And so Revelations 2 takes place between Resident Evil 5 and 6 and focuses mostly on Claire Redfield. It's been a few years, I guess, since she has had her story continue. But the main gist of the game is it reminds me a lot of Saw, like the Saw movies. Claire is, I guess, working at a company. I'm not really sure what she's doing at the very beginning of this game, but she is either working at a company or just going to a company party, and there are a group of terrorists that attack and kidnap her, and also kidnap another young lady that I don't know if I should say who it is because of spoilers. If someone hasn't played this game, they might not want to know this, so I'll keep it vague. But they capture someone that is I don't think we've ever seen them in the Resident Evil games, but you'll definitely know who it is when you find out who they are. But yeah, so you're captured and you're put in a cell and you're slapped with a bracelet on, and it talks to you. There's a mysterious voice that comes through the bracelet and is basically telling you that you're trapped here, and that the bracelet will change color depending on your fear level. And so if it's green, you're fine. If it's yellow, you're experiencing fear. If it starts blinking red, then you better start worrying, because if it goes fully red, then a virus will be injected into you, and you turn into a zombie, basically. So you start out. I should mention too, the Revelations games are done in an episodic format, which I think is actually pretty cool. They're not super long. The entire game is pretty lengthy. I think it's about a 20-hour game. There's four or five episodes. But the way it's told is really cool. So it's told from different perspectives. So during the course of one episode, you may play from like 2 or 3 different perspectives. And I just completely lost my train of thought. I was gonna mention something else about the episodes. Well, I guess I was gonna say it's really cool. Like when you finish an episode, it's kind of done like a TV show. Like they'll kind of say like the next time on Resident Evil Revelations, and they'll give you like a little preview of what's to come, and then like when you come back, they'll say like previously on Resident Evil Revelations 2, and give you like a little recap. I love how video games do that. There's been a couple of other games that have done that. Dragon Quest XI did that. It's just so nice, like especially with a really big RPG like Dragon Quest XI. If you come back, a month later or something like that, if you haven't played, you usually will completely forget like what in the world was I doing? Where was I? And just to give you a nice little recap is really nice. But yeah, to get back to
Premonition 1 did that as well.
Did they?
Correctly. Yeah, if you play through the game and get through chapters,
the chapters would do that. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then you have like, previously on Deadly Premonition.
Yeah, but yeah, to get back to Resident Evil, the game is pretty good. I like it quite a bit. I didn't really know what to expect, because like this game came out after Resident Evil 5, I think, and this was kind of a big directional shift that they were taking in the Resident Evil franchise, to where they were making it much more action focused and more less survival horror focused. This one, it is still quite a bit of action, but you do still have like some inventory management. There are some very atmospheric and creepy environments and things like that.
We now added inventory management to our action game.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting to play those games though, and just like see just how big of a shift they went from what they were to what they became, and then now like they're going back to more of that survival horror and dealing with inventory management and all of that stuff. I think it's pretty obvious that people like the earlier games and the way that they're headed now.
That is interesting. Random side note: have you played the Dead Space games?
I have, yeah.
You have. So I heard an interesting theory. I've watched some of it, and as far as I understand, as you continue, they become also a little more actiony in the I think third Dead Space. It's very much more of a shooter, almost gory shooter, and the idea was for Dead Space 4 to kind of invert that. You start fully equipped as a soldier, but all your equipment deteriorates over time. So in the end, it becomes like pure survival.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that.
Yeah, no, it was just it's not based on anything that they may have planned, just an idea for what they could do. And I really like that idea, not just for the Dead Space franchise, but just in general as a horror game where you start out very powerful, you have all the weapons, you have all the equipment, but there is no reloading, or like your weapons break among the time, and by the end you are just pure survival horror, and you kind of have to get by with some duct tape. And I think that would invert that thing very interestingly and make progression very interesting. Obviously, there are some balancing issues then, because you would like face the final boss at your weakest point. But I think if it is done right, it would be very, very interesting, where you from the get-go have to manage everything that you do, because you just have to survive, like very pure survival. You are like Arnold Schwarzenegger dropped into the jungle, having to survive against the predator, and your only way to survive is somehow getting out there.
That is so interesting, Akko. I've never even like considered that. That would be such an interesting twist and turn of events in a game to do that. There's been so many games that, especially RPGs do this a lot of times, where like you start out with all of your powers and everything like that, and then they take it away. Or like Prototype did this. I don't know if you ever played Prototype.
Yeah,
they you start out with like all your powers, and then they're taken away, and you like slowly kind of build them up again. But yeah, it would be so cool to start out with all of your abilities and weapons and everything like that, and then you could even play into like the psychological horror aspects too, that like you're like slowly losing your mind or something like that, and so you're forgetting like how to use certain ability. Oh man, I want that.
Yeah, you could do a lot with that, and you can, like, if you have from the beginning, like if you tell the player there are no ammo boxes randomly in a map, which often, like in a lot of games, it doesn't make sense. Why is there like shotgun ammo in the middle of the woods, for example?
Yeah.
No, like you have 30 shotgun shells. And if you save them, great. But if you don't have any shotgun shots anymore. For example, like you could play with that and really make clear what you have now is the most that you will have in the game. Figure a way out to get to the end. And I think you could do some interesting things with that. And like I said, you can play into the psychological thing. You can play with injuries. Maybe like the more you injure, the slower your character gets over time. And maybe it would be first good to do that with a shorter game to experiment a little bit with that. But I think there is something to that would make it very, very interesting, where it would be resource managing, but different. It's not just the resource managing in terms of finding new one and not using it as much. You have to manage the resource of yourself for the entire game.
I'm just trying to think, like, I cannot think of any game that has ever done that before.
No. And it obviously creates some issues, like would you allow a character to heal and all of these things. But I think you can manage that. You can get around that. You can figure something out, especially with a shorter game.
Yeah.
Like if you say it's a shorter game, it's almost it does become a little bit roguelike, where you may not get to the finish the first time you get through, but you learn how to get through. So you could work around that, or you have save points and you can heal, but it's really about then that journey, and like as you go on, maybe having less equipment at your disposal. But the more you learn about the game, you figure out how to get around enemies or find out weak spots. Like you could maybe, as you progress, find journals that tell you a weak spot of an enemy, and now you may not have the weapon anymore, but you know how to avoid them because you found out this information about them, for example.
Why in the world has no one done this?
I don't know. Time.
Wait, can we contact Reality O and get him to make this? Do we know any other game devs?
I want to be creative lead then.
Yeah, man, that is such a cool idea. If anybody knows of any game that is like that, please let me know, because I'm super curious about that now, and I think that's fascinating. So
Because you either start with nothing, kind of like in an Outlast, and like you just have to scramble throughout the entire game,
yeah,
or you get stronger as you progress. But it's not really that you have this steady decline in abilities or resources, because there is nothing more to find. It was always like, oh yeah, of course there are like scattered throughout the Resident Evil 7, like hundreds and hundreds of gun ammunition all over the place.
yeah.
And it's like, maybe you can limit that even more. Not saying that there shouldn't be anything to find or any weapons to find, but maybe you start with an assault rifle and like a combat knife and all of that. But in the end, you have to make do with a crowbar and like I don't know, like some glass bottles or so.
I feel like
almost like
you.
in The Last of Us.
I feel like you would probably. I mean, you could do it either way, but I feel like the best way to do it would be to do like start out with not everything. Start out with just kind of like a medium ability character, and then kind of quickly build up all of your abilities. And maybe like, I don't know, if this was a 10-hour game, for like the first 3 hours you spend kind of building up your abilities and everything like that, gathering a bunch of ammo, gathering weapons, and then like from there on out you start to lose everything and start to what I have pictured in my mind is like a psychological horror game that would do that, and like really play into the psychological horror, as well as like, yeah, you only have 30 bullets for your handgun, and once that runs out, then it's over. But also like, I don't know what kind of abilities you would have, but whatever the abilities would be, like the psychological horror factor comes in and you start losing those abilities. Man, that's such a cool idea.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. Like when I thought about it, I kind of imagined something like Resident Evil 7, where you go like in your full capacity to that house, maybe have a little bit, like you said, a little bit of weaponry, find a little bit more in the beginning, but maybe then after like the intro, so to speak, that is basically your peak. And
Yeah.
from then everything just gets worse. And like if you get injured, you get slower, maybe like reloading takes longer if you get injured, and things like that. And maybe there are also that scripted moments that also might impact certain things. But I think you can really play with that, and then also put the player in the shoes of the character of not knowing what is to come. So you don't know what to prepare for. But at the same time, I'm almost thinking you need something like permadeath, because otherwise you can just reload and like next time you save up your ammo. So you have to make the decision, either I'm dying here or I'm using this ammo.
Yeah, it would be very tricky balancing it, but I mean, I think it could definitely be done. But I mean, you could run into the problem of like, well, if you know that you're going to lose your abilities or your ammo or something like that, you just wouldn't use your ammo until the very end. But I mean, you would obviously like have to, do something that would force you to use your ammo or things like that. But I think more like the abilities part would just be interesting, because like, whether you use it or not, like you're gonna lose it at some point. So yeah, that's such a cool idea.
Where that's just an out of nowhere idea, but you kind of start trapped or as a hostage of some sort. You break out of your cell or your whatever, get your ammunition, your weapons, like in the first area, and then your goal is to escape. And every time you die, though, that will have consequences. You will respawn, but there's just a limited amount of things, because for some reason it affects your mind even stronger or your body even stronger. So you get even slower, or like your perception is differently. So you still have to fight. It is not immediately permadeath, but there is a limit on that, and you don't know what that limit is. So you try to avoid that, and you have to fight your way out of that every time you get caught by some being.
Yeah,
and until you're out of that dungeon.
That would definitely be more like a roguelite or something.
Bit, yeah.
But that would be really, really cool as well. That it's such an interesting discussion. I feel like we could probably talk about this forever.
Yeah.
Like just kind of new and interesting ideas for games. It kind of makes me think about The Medium. I'm really excited about The Medium. Have you seen that game?
I feel like yeah. There was a trailer.
It's
I'm vaguely remembering shots there.
it's I think it's like one of the only launch games for the Series X now, even though it's like a third party. But it's it was done by the people that did Layers of Fear. So it's a horror game about
Mhm.
a woman who is a medium. And the really interesting twist on the game, though, is they have two simultaneous worlds that they're saying that they're rendering at the same time.
Right.
And you'll be able to like switch back and forth. And like, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you ever played Titanfall 2, or did you ever play, what is it? Dishonored 2?
No.
So both of those games had a really cool mission where it involved kind of like time travel, where you would travel back in time and you would be able to manipulate things in the past that would then you could go back to the future, like in the same world. You would be able to manipulate something in the past that would affect the future, and it kind of reminds me of that, but it's like the entire world is going to be like that. Oh, reality is here now. Reality, we need you to
Yeah.
make a game for us.
Yeah, we have the new horror game blockbuster idea.
Yeah.
And now I thought about like, what about that? Like, instead of permadeath, you kind of have like a corruption system to save you from death. So it's like
Yeah.
it is when you die, you die. You have to start over again. But there is a way to save you from death. But it kind of punishes you in somewhere. Kind of like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. The more you use it, the more corrupted you get, and that
Yeah.
will have serious consequences. So that way you can save yourself from dying, but you know that it will cost you. So you try to not do that.
Man, I want this so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'm so curious if there's any game that's done that before. I really can't think of anything. If anybody has heard of anything, let us know. I'm really curious about that. Now I don't know. That's like just all I can think about now. It's just wanting that game.
Didn't want to derail the podcast, but sometimes I have ideas.
No, that's super interesting. Yeah, really cool. All right. Let's see. Moving on. This is like totally opposite of Resident Evil. I've been playing The Sims 4.
Lots of death there usually too.
You could make it into a horror game, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever played The Sims? You ever played any of these games?
Played a bunch of the Sims 1. I played a bunch of Sims 2, and I also played a good chunk of Sims 4.
So I have only like very, very, very casually gotten into The Sims in the past. I think I played a little bit of Sims 3, but never really knew what I was doing or anything like that. But I just started messing around with The Sims 4, and I blame Vermalt for most of this because she got me addicted to it.
It's so addictive.
She mainly was just helping me like learn how to. I don't feel like that game does a very good job at teaching you how to play the game. Like there is a tutorial, but it's kind of too in depth, and there's just like so much reading involved. And she just kind of like walked me through the main mechanics and the building and all of that stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I've just been having a lot of fun with that. I've been so tempted to buy like so many of the expansions, but I've just been trying to just stick with like
the vampire one. It's really good because it adds like a complete, almost like a new game mode to it, playing as a vampire.
Is it is it an expansion or a game pack, or there's so many different ones?
I don't know what the difference is, but like it's one of the bigger ones, like the bigger expansion packs.
Yeah.
And I got that one, and that one is really worth it. The pet one is also definitely one of the better one.
Yeah.
For me, like the Sims, it comes and goes in phases, but there always comes a time where I feel like I want to play the Sims, that I play it for like 2-3 weeks and
Yeah.
really some hours.
That's
Then I put down again for month and month, but then also always comes back.
that's how I get on these types of games, and I think I surprised Remote because she was like, "There's no way you're going to get into this," but I can like. I could really sink some hours into these simulation games.
Right.
Yeah, I like I don't know what it is, like city builders and like the tycoon games sometimes. There's just something about them that are just addicting, and like I can really sink hundreds of hours into those games sometimes. But yeah, so I've created a bunch of characters, but the ones that I'm trying to stick with right now is I created a guy named Carl Sagan, and his aspiration was to become a computer whiz, which he already met his aspiration.
Wow.
He is now a professional gamer and also a streamer. And he just got married and just had twins. Actually, had 2 baby girls. So I'm just figuring out how to deal with kids, which I think we're going to have to add on to the house because I didn't really think about the fact that like we need
the job expansion is really cool since you can actually play at your job. Like there are missions to do.
Yeah, so I have the Dine Out, I think that's the name of it, expansion, where you can like create a restaurant. And I want to dive into that, but for like I figured for like my first playthrough, I wanted to just try and keep it pretty basic and just like live out the life of a sim. So I'm just trying to kind of still get a hang of the mechanics and gameplay and everything like that. But yeah, he's a full-time pro gamer and streamer now. I think we're probably gonna retire him at some point because he's an elder now. But he'll probably still stream. It's cool that you can just like stream and you just like make money from streaming. Who knew that you could do that? But yeah, it's really fun. My wife was she was wanting to be a criminal, but I figured that probably wasn't the best idea with kids on the way. So she's taking a little time off from her criminal activities to raise the kids. But yeah, having a lot of fun with that. It's it's kind of been my like late at nights game, that I play for a few hours before I go to bed.
That's perfect for that.
Yeah. I have also been playing. I've been playing a little bit of Need for Speed Heat. That is the newest Need for Speed, which I think is actually like, was it 2018 or 2019 when that game came out? I think it was 2019 when that game came out. But yeah, it's the newest one, and it's a Need for Speed game. There's not a whole lot to say about it. Like it's it's got a cool mechanic like where you can swap between daytime and nighttime. So during the day you race like legitimate races that are actually set up on courses and things like that. And then at night you do more of the street racing where there's the cops involved and it's a little bit more high stakes. They do have kind of a cool mechanic that when you're racing at night, instead of winning earnings, you earn rep, I think they call it, or like, basically you're building up your reputation. And the cool mechanic is you can go in and do races at night, but if you get caught by the police, all of your rep is taken away. So you do races at night and build up your rep, and then you have to make it back to a safe house to kind of bank that rep. And if you get caught, then you obviously lose that. So it's kind of a neat risk versus reward mechanic.
Interesting.
So I checked out the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that came out earlier this week on Tuesday, and it's out on Game Pass. So, I figured why not? I'd just download it and give it a try. And I only played just a tiny bit of it. But I was pleasantly surprised, I would say. I have kind of mixed feelings about it. Like, it's definitely accessible enough that someone like me could play that, doesn't know anything about flying an airplane, obviously. But you can jump in and just like really easily just set the controls to mostly automated and just kind of fly your own way. I was just using a Xbox One controller, so I don't have like a big fancy setup or anything like that. I think the big draw to that game for someone like me is just kind of the experience of being able to do something like you would never be able to do in real life. Being able to play or fly, a giant 747 jumbo jet or something like that. It's fascinating to see that game though, because do you know about the technology behind it? How they're using Bing Maps to like virtually render the world. So they have I believe it's 2 petabytes, which is I think 2,000 terabytes worth of map data that they stream to your computer as you're playing this. So you have to download like the initial download, which is still massive. It's like 120 gigs just to download the game. But then they also stream real-time map data. And this is like one-to-one accuracy. So, like, I mean, if you can see something in Bing Maps, like, you can literally fly there in this game and view it. So, like, you could, fly to Berlin and literally see, like, the landmarks of Berlin and everything like that. They even have, like, real-time weather. So, like, if there's a thunderstorm over Kansas, you can fly through the thunderstorm in Kansas. It's bizarre how realistic and how just good it looks, and how good of a job they do with the simulation. The biggest downsides to it though is it's just a pure simulator. Like, there's no real goals or like achievements. I think there are like some challenges, like daily challenges or something like that. But I wish that there was I wish they would do something more with that in terms of like progression. I wish, like, I don't know, you could go to flight school and like learn how to fly a small airplane, and then like have a career mode or something like that, to where you could become a pilot and work your way up to.
And you all of a sudden you have like lengthy cutscenes and like.
It's not the game that they are making. Yeah, I totally get that. This is just what I want.
Yeah, no, I get that though. I think that would be cool.
But I mean, for just like for someone like me that just wants to jump in and just fly a plane and just check it out, especially if you have Game Pass, like it's definitely worth trying out. If you have Game Pass, I think it's really, really cool. Other than that, I also played the Avengers beta, the open beta for all platforms, finally came out today. And I have been hearing so many mixed things about that. I just wanted to jump into that really quick and just try it out. So I literally played like 30 minutes before the stream, because that's all I had to do. And I mean, I didn't play nearly enough to really make up my mind, but I don't know, it seems fine. Like, I feel like I'm probably the wrong person to really talk about this, because I like the Marvel movies, but I'm not by any means like a huge fan of them or anything like that. I enjoy most of the movies every time I watch them, but I don't have like a favorite superhero or anything like this, and I'm not like just a crazy fanatic about going and seeing every one of these movies.
How dare you say that on the internet?
I know. I will say that, like, from a technical perspective, it didn't run very good, like, at all for me. I have a pretty good computer with an i9 9900, 32 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 1080 graphics card. And on high settings, not even the ultra settings, I was getting like around 30 to 40 frames per second, which I would hope, I would have gotten more like 60 frames per second. It seems like it's very much dialed in to being optimized more for around 30 frames per second, which is probably, I'm sure, what it's running at on consoles. I was also playing with mouse and keyboard, which it just didn't really feel very great for mouse and keyboard. Feels like it's very much designed to play with a controller. I don't know. It just felt okay to me. Like, it felt generic, I guess is the best word I could put it. Like, you can swap. So you play, I guess, the very beginning of the game, and you kind of swap between the main characters, which are, let's see, there was Captain America, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Hulk. Oh, and also Natasha. What's her name? Her superhero name?
Black Widow.
Black Widow. So you kind of swap between them in this opening sequence, and they all like kind of have different attacks, but it all just feels the same because you're all basically just like mashing the same button to just do an attack, except like, instead of attacking with your shield with Captain America, you're just attacking with your fists with Hulk, or just shooting out your laser beam with Iron Man's thing. And I don't know, nothing just really felt that special. Oh, you also play as Thor. You can play as Thor, which that seemed like that could be kind of fun because, you have your axe, or not your axe, your, oh man, people are going to hate me for this. Hammer, thank you. And you could like throw it. It felt very much like God of War, which is crazy to me that like God of War combat feels so much better than this.
Oh, I believe that.
And you would think that, playing as Thor, they would make that combat feel really good, but I don't know. It just all feels kind of samey to me. I think the only reason I would play this would be to maybe just play through the story. And I don't know what's going to be really involved in that. This is, very much billed as a games as a service model. So I don't know how enjoyable the story is actually going to be. I don't know how in depth it's going to be. But yeah, I wish I had better things to say about it. It seems like this is just kind of the general consensus about the game from everyone, though, is like it just doesn't feel that great. And at the same time, it's like this is a massive Square Enix game that it seems like they've put tons and tons of resources and money behind. And it just seems like this game is flopped before it's even come out, which is really too bad.
I really think they are hoping to like really cash in on the Marvel crowd and like pull in people who may not play as many video games anyway. I never got the feeling that this was a game really planned for the hardcore gaming crowd anyway.
It's so weird though, because it seems like that's kind of how they're marketing it to the hardcore gaming crowd, and like they have all these betas and they have all this coverage that they're getting from the press, but it's like everyone that's playing this is just like, this is just not really that fun. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's gonna be
check out the beta as well. I'm not really too interested in it, but I'm interested to see if there is a blurry block that is supposed to be Spider-Man.
Oh. So, yeah, I mean, that's the other big controversy behind it, right, is that Spider-Man is going to be locked to PS4. And I think they've said that Sony is going to have other exclusives that you can only get on PlayStation. Like, that just turns a lot of people off. It also just means that, like, there's not going to be any kind of story-related stuff with Spider-Man, because obviously you can't have story stuff on one platform. And although, I mean, I guess you could, but it would be kind of weird. Like, if I don't know, you have a cutscene like on the PC version, and it's just like
Well, I wonder if, I mean, I haven't checked it out, but I wonder if it will come down to that the story mode will be that you have different missions that you then would have with different characters to like progress the overall goal of defeating whoever is in the way. And then probably depending on what characters you have unlocked, you have different missions that you can then, or like different options on who to take on those missions, and you just then don't have Spider-Man in those.
I also just think that these kind of games are just not for me. These I don't know if you would really call this a looter shooter, because it's, I don't know if there's like any, I don't even know if there's going to be loot or how the progression is going to work, but my understanding is basically it's kind of like the same mechanics as a looter shooter, that you have levels, enemies have levels, and you basically just have to grind to up your level to do 2% more damage. And I don't know. I know that people love those games. A lot of people love those games, but I just cannot seem to really enjoy those types of games to where it's like you grind and grind and grind to get an ability, or not even get an ability, but just like to upgrade your ability that does 1% more damage, to then grind more and more to do, 1% more damage to kill a level 3 enemy instead of a level 2 enemy. And I don't know. I can't get into those games for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just not for me.
That could very well be.
But yeah, that's about all I have been playing this week. Lots of games, nothing that I've really been sinking my teeth into, other than I guess The Sims is probably the thing that I've been sinking into the most. I am excited about continuing Resident Evil Revelations, though. I'm having a good time with it. I just love that series as a whole, and really having fun with that. Okay, let's go ahead and throw out the games that are coming out this week. We've got a few noteworthy ones. We've got Madden 21 coming out for PS4 and Xbox One on
for the non-existent
August 25th.
You can play the entire 2021 season with no games. And sim right to 2022.
I guess, hey, if you can't watch football, you can at least play it, right?
Yeah.
No Straight Roads for PC, PS4, and Xbox One and Switch coming out on the 25th. Vader Immortal, which is the VR game where you play as Darth Vader, is coming out on PSVR for PlayStation PSVR on August 25th. I think that game has actually already been out on PC or Oculus.
Something like that.
We have Best Friend Forever for PC and Switch on August 27th. The second Control expansion, which I'm very excited about this, is launching on the 27th. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition is coming out for PC. PS4. Is that not coming out for PC? It just says PS4 and Switch on August 27th. Surgeon Simulator 2 for PC on August 27th. Tell Me Why, Chapter 1 for PC and Xbox One.
That's the Life is Strange.
Yep. And I think that is also on Game Pass. That's going to be available for free on Game Pass. We have Tour de France 2020. It's coming out on PC for 20.
That isn't happening.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Did they delay that, or are they just skipping this year?
I'm pretty sure they're just skipping, since it's always in summer. And as time moves on, as someone who has followed the Tour de France in depth for years,
I used to actually love the Tour de France.
Yeah, I like it was. I don't know what is it with me and boring sports that take hours to finish, but I have very fond memories of like summer days, just sitting like having the Tour de France race in the background, and like then as it goes on, and you're just hanging out, and they are like climbing up the mountains and stuff like that. So I'm not sure, but I would assume that they just canceled for this year.
Yeah.
Since if you can't really do it later, it just gets too cold in the mountains and the weather too unstable.
Yeah. Double Kick Heroes for Xbox One on August 28th. Project Cars 3 is coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on the 28th. Wasteland 3. Very excited for Wasteland 3. That's coming out PC, PS4, and Xbox One on the 28th.
That's a franchise that has been brought to my attention only recently. I never really paid attention to it, and then it was someone asked me if I like XCOM-like games, and I was like, sure, yeah. And I never played Wasteland 1 or 2, but now that I looked into it, I'm definitely interested in it. And I bookmarked Wasteland 2 for me. I think I will pick it up at some point when it's on sale or so to check it out.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. I was actually listening to Game Informer. They had an interview with Brian Fargo, I believe his name is, who is the original creator of Wasteland. And they made this game, I think it was back in like the early 90s, the original Wasteland. And he wanted to make a second one, but I think it was EA or somebody held the rights to it, and they didn't want to make a second one for whatever reason.
Usually EA.
Yeah,
it's about bad guys.
Always EA. And he kept asking them, and they just kept saying no. And so he spun off the game and decided to make a game that was sort of similar to that, and created Fallout, the Fallout series. Yeah, really interesting. And then last, we have a game that I'm actually really interested. I don't know if you've seen this game, but it's called Windbound. It's coming out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. It's a really cool art style. It kind of reminds me of like Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. And it kind of even looks like a little bit of a Zelda game, but it also has some survival and crafting mechanics to it. And I think it's supposed to have a story as well. It's not just like a kind of open world survival game. Looks really, really pretty though. I'm really interested in checking that out. It's called Windbound.
Okay.
That is all of the games that I had noted down that are releasing this week. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the news. There's not a whole lot going on this week. There was an Indie Direct. There was a Nintendo Indie Direct. I don't know if you got a chance to look at any of the games that they showed off.
No, I skipped over an article that summarized it.
It wasn't anything super exciting. There were a bunch of small games. They actually had a bunch of games that like released the same day, which was nice.
That I heard. I think that is amazing. More of that. Always great. I like these little. I like the concept of these indie directs. Just like giving some shine on the small developers and smaller games, and actually then giving them the platform to be like, hey, you like this, you can play it in a couple of hours.
Yeah. Just a couple of things that I saw that were interesting. Hades is going to be coming out this fall for the Switch. That's the Supergiant, I think is their name, that makes roguelikes, and they made Bastion. What was the other one that they made? Oh man, I'm completely blanking. Very beloved games though. People really, really like the games. Transistor, thank you, basically, Dad. They made Transistor and Bastion. Those games were really well received. Hades has been in early access for I think about a year now on PC and is doing very well. I know a lot of people are excited for that. They also announced Spiritfarer, I believe is how you say that, which I don't know anything about this other than I really like the art style, but I've just had a couple of people tell me like it's really, really good. Definitely worth checking out. I think it might be on Game Pass as well. And they also showed off Subnautica, and Subnautica Below Zero is coming to the Switch next year. It's interesting that they said Below Zero is coming because that is a game that's been in early access for a while. It was supposed to like be fully released, I think, earlier this year. They are really, really bad with their deadlines, though, like so many of these companies. So I can't imagine that they would still launch it in early access on the Switch. So I imagine that that's either going to be delayed or maybe they get that out the door in time, but I can't imagine that they would be able to finish that in time. But it's coming at some point to the Switch. But yeah, they announced a bunch of games here. A Short Hike is another one that I've heard is really good. It's coming to the Switch, which another one that's already on Game Pass. You can play it right now on PC. Torchlight 3. Untitled Goose Game. They're coming out with a free expansion, I guess. Or not really an expansion, but it's a 2-player co-op mode that they're adding to that. That's going to be free. I know that a lot of people loved that game.
It should be called Geese Louise. The co-op
Geese
mode.
Louise. Yeah, that would be great. But yeah. If anybody else has anything that they were interested in that or excited, let us know. Curious on everyone's thoughts on that. Let's see. Moving
I think there was
on.
also reporting about I'm not sure if you heard about the Oculus deal. Like the
Facebook thing?
Yeah, the Facebook thing.
Yeah, so they said that you'll be required to use a Facebook login for Oculus. I mean,
there's a grace period. Eventually,
yeah,
you have to have.
It's, I don't know. Everyone hates Facebook. I hate Facebook. Does anyone like Facebook? I don't know. I mean, I understand like people complaining about it, but at the same time, it's like if you want to use it, then just make a Facebook account and just set all your privacy settings to not show anything, and nobody will ever just like create like a, I don't know, a throwaway account or something like that. Like I understand people getting upset about this, and I totally understand that, but it's like I don't know. I feel like people just make too big of a deal about it.
True, I do think though it's just such an unnecessary move to link those things.
It totally is, and I mean they just want your data. You know, I know that that's what it is, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Just I never have that big of problems with these things because I literally just create like an account, like a fake account, and just give them false information. You know, I'd say that I'm like an 87-year-old man from Washington or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I understand again. Like I understand people being upset about it. It's a scummy thing to do, but it is what it is. Let's see. So finally, they announced the new Call of Duty game. I know a lot of people probably don't care about this, but I love Call of Duty. I play every single Call of Duty that has ever come out. I love them for the campaigns. Even though this last one I did really get into the multiplayer. But it looks like they are going to reboot the Black Ops series. This is going to be called, it's a mouthful, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So the Black Ops series kind of started back in the Vietnam era during the Cold War. And a lot of people really liked the Black Ops trilogy. So I think that this could do really well depending on how they handle it. It is interesting though, just like with how popular Warzone is in the current Call of Duty. I wonder if they're just going to like say, okay, we're done with this. Now come play the new game. Or I wonder what happens to Warzone, because Warzone is the big battle royale mode in the current one. You think they have a 10-year plan? How many of these people are actually going to make it to 10 years? Because I've been hearing about 10-year plans for like, I don't know, 5 years. And
I'm going to work for Destiny like a couple of years, and then Destiny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I would assume that they will continue the support on there, and maybe they kind of split it up so that you just won't have a new battle royale and like all of these things, and really keep that on Warzone, and then have Black Ops be its own thing. I have to say, I am completely confused about the Call of Duty franchise because I have no idea anymore what came when and what before. Like you have Modern Warfares and Black Ops and World
It's all
Wars,
over the place. I mean, it's
and I don't know. Did Modern Warfare 3 come out before Black Ops 2 and the other way around?
so. Part of the reason that this is so confusing is because they have 3 different developers, and they kind of are on a rotation with these games. So they started doing this. I can't remember. For a long time, they had 2 developers, and they would alternate. So like one developer would do Modern Warfare, and then the other developer would do Black Ops. And then the next year, it would be Modern Warfare 2. The next year, it would be Black Ops 2. And then at some point, they added a 3rd developer in here. They kind of like threw it all around. But yeah, I totally understand why it's confusing. And especially if you haven't ever played these games, it's definitely confusing. And now that they're like going back and remaking / remastering them, rebooting them.
Like, the Modern Warfare games are not connected to the Black Ops games, but at the same time, I like seeing like the progression in the game when I would start them. And we would get to that later, but I have a bunch of the Call of Duty games from the PlayStation Plus, and I intend to tackle the campaigns.
Oh, nice.
Campaign. And it's like, which one is the oldest one here? I guess this one, because it says remastered, but who knows?
So, I mean...
I have now Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered is, I think, the oldest one that I own, but I'm not even sure.
Yeah, it's okay. So Modern Warfare is very confusing because they had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which I think came out in 2007, and then that kind of spawned a new trilogy, which was the Modern Warfare trilogy. So you had Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3. Those were all done by the same developers, but it took place over like 6 years because, again, like they alternated the years that they came out. You also have the Black Ops trilogy, which is Black Ops 1, 2, and 3. So those are pretty straightforward. But what gets confusing is then they remastered Call of Duty 4 Remaster. So that came out like in 2016, I think. And then last year, they just rebooted Modern Warfare, and they just called it Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And it was like kind of a retelling of the original Call of Duty 4, but it also was like very different in the way that they did it. So
okay, so I now have a Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which I guess is the Call of Duty 4.
That's the Call of Duty 4 remaster. Yep.
Then I own Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which is. Then I also own Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Okay.
So I assume Modern Warfare 2 is then the second oldest one. And
correct.
Black Ops 3 is newer.
Black Ops 3 is newer. So, yep.
And the newest one that I then own would then probably Call of Duty World War II, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about Call of Duty World War II because they kind of went back. They tried 1 year to go back to World War II. And
isn't there also like a Call of Duty Ghost?
Oh yeah. Oh, this is only like a tiny bit, Akko. We've got Call of Duty Ghost. We've got Advanced Warfare. We've got Infinite Warfare. There's also Infinite Warfare, which takes place like 200 years in the future. Actually, I know this sounds silly, but Infinite Warfare is possibly my favorite Call of Duty game because it's like the least Call of Duty game. It's really good. Like, you actually have side quests. You have like, it's kind of like a semi-open world nature that you have in that game. It's really cool. You are I think if I'm remembering right, that's the one where you battle Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. He's the bad guy, and like it takes place in the solar system. Like you're literally getting in these spaceships, and like there's spaceship battles. There's battles on like Titan and Mars and all kinds of things.
Everything on Earth also takes place in the solar system.
That's true. But yeah, if so, in your case, I would probably play Call of Duty 4 Remastered as your first one, and then play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you really like those games, it might be worth picking up Modern Warfare 3 to kind of end the trilogy. Or just wait. They'll probably just give you that one in PS Plus one of these days. PS Plus is
throwing them out like candy.
But I wouldn't recommend jumping into Call of Duty Black Ops 3 without playing the first two. Call of Duty World War II, you can absolutely play as like it's a self-contained experience. It's actually a very good single player campaign in that.
I played the old Call of Duty,
the original ones. Yeah,
and they were in World War II, and I really enjoyed those because they were also just single players. I thought they were really interesting and fun. And I never played many first-person shooters, but I enjoyed those, especially the first one.
They're just fun to me for just like it's like an action blockbuster movie, that you're just thrown in. They're usually very short, especially the newer ones. They're like maybe 6-hour experiences.
Yeah.
So
and I did like about the first Call of Duty though that you have the different viewpoints from
the different perspectives.
Yeah, that was very cool.
And they still do that. Not all of them, but definitely in the Modern Warfare games they do that. You'll play as like an American, and then it'll like switch to like a British SAS soldier or something like that, and give you different perspectives.
It's always the most authentic combat experience ever.
Yeah, it's 100% realistic. I think they actually use this as training in the military.
So they do.
Did you ever? Probably not, being German, but did you ever know or even hear about a game that was called America's Army?
I did hear about it. Yeah. That was the one funded by the U.S. Army.
Yeah, it was actually funded and like developed by the U.S. Army, and they put it out as as basically like a recruiting a recruitment method. It was a free game that you could download and play. It wasn't that bad of a game, actually. It was just multiplayer, but it was interesting. But yeah, going back to Call of Duty, they just put out a teaser. They're going to have the full reveal on August 27th. Yeah, it's crazy that it took them so long to announce this. Normally, we hear about the new Call of Duty every year. We hear about the new Call of Duty in May. They always do it right before E3, and then E3 is when you get the.
They may have not been sure if they can meet that, so they may actually have done what we are asking for and kind of see first if they can meet the deadline before they announce it.
I think there is almost zero chance that this game would not come out this year. Even with a global pandemic, they are putting this game out. But yeah, so it's interesting that they'll be showing that game off right before Gamescom opening night. I think that's pretty smart. They'll probably show it off, build up some hype from that, and then probably show off a lot more during Gamescom.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have? The Steam Game Festival is coming back. It is going to be from October 7th to the 13th. The Steam Game Festival, if you don't know, is they've been doing a few of these now, where they have a week-long festival of just a bunch of demos that they put out for upcoming games. They usually have some big sales around this time of the year as well. So looking forward to that. Let's see. I don't know if you heard or read any of this stuff about Bloodlines 2, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
I heard some of it. Yeah,
It is.
not good news.
It's a mess. Yeah, they let go of their lead director and creative director. And then they took on a new director, creative director, and lead director, a guy that worked on Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. A lot of people are not very excited for that because, I mean, I love Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, but I don't think that's really what people are wanting from Vampire the Masquerade.
No, but I also feel like you can't relate, like just because the person obviously, I mean, they worked in the confines of those franchises. So we'll see. I mean, it would be kind of like when you have a famous director jumping into a movie franchise, that doesn't change the franchise necessarily. There might be touches about that, but we'll see.
Yeah. There's more just bizarre debacle around the Control controversy. So I mentioned earlier that the last expansion for Control is coming out on August 27th, and I think I mentioned this last week that they put out a statement saying that they're coming out with an Ultimate Edition of the game, but if you were a previous owner of the game, even if you owned all the expansions, you would not get a free upgrade to next-gen consoles. Then they put out this just terrible press release, like trying to justify why they were doing this, and they said that like every way that they tried to look at this, somebody would be left out, and it makes like zero sense because there's so many other games that are doing this, and it's like they just acting like it's impossible for them to upgrade you to the newest version. And now literally just today they put out a revised statement saying that you would be able to you won't get a free upgrade, but you will still be able to play the game due to backwards compatibility. It's just like literally all they had to do to fix this and just to avoid this was to, first of all, not put out this Ultimate Edition until the next gen consoles came out. There's zero reason for them to do this.
Yes. And
then put out a blog statement saying, hey, we're releasing this Ultimate Edition for next-gen consoles. It's going to be $40. It'll have all the previous content. It'll have new updates and things like that. For current owners, you'll still be able to play the game on next-gen consoles with backwards compatibility. But this is, launching after next-gen is coming out. It's going to be a next-gen only title. And that would be fine. Like, I'm sure you would still have a few people, upset that they wouldn't get upgraded to the newest edition, but why in the world are they releasing this Ultimate Edition for current gen a month before we have next gen consoles, and then not going to let previous not going to let previous owners of this upgrade? It's just bizarre to me. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
it's like, just how are companies so bad at this?
I think it really is like the communication in those big companies. It's like one department says one thing, then the other department has to put out a fire, which creates a new fire, and then it just kind of gets out of control.
Speaking of out of control, there's more just kind of mess coming out around the Halo Infinite announcements and the Halo Infinite delays. This is coming from Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com, who is a big Microsoft insider, has a blog that always really goes in depth with Microsoft stuff. And he did a lot of reporting and found out that they were looking at all kinds of different options to not delay the game. They were even thinking about releasing the game in sections. They were thinking about releasing like the single player only and then not releasing the multiplayer until later.
Right.
And it also turns out that apparently they've been outsourcing like an unusually large amount of this game, which it's not highly unusual for big games like this to outsource certain parts of development. But apparently, like all the trailers that they've released have been completely outsourced. So like all of this that we've seen is not really what the game looks like. That's one of the reasons why the gameplay that we saw looks so different from the trailers, and was just not great looking. It just, I don't know. I don't understand how these giant companies can be so bad at managing their projects. Like I don't get it. I would love to understand this. It just seems like that they are so mismanaged.
Yeah. It's and I think like, and that's all, like we only obviously get like the surface of what's going on. I can only imagine how maddening it must be if you are like working as a dev on the game and then you hear all the mess of the people above you that they create, and you're just, I just want to make a good game. I'm just working on it here. And then like things are being shipped around and trailers are not really what you'd created, and like everything is burning, and then people are attacking you and you're just crying in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel bad for the developers that are working on the game, and like they're not wanting to deal with all the PR stuff. Like they just want to make games.
They're doing their part.
Right.
To create a great game under the constrictions that they've been given. But
yeah, so it's been a weird week. I'm looking forward to this upcoming week. We've got some exciting stuff happening. Tomorrow is the DC Fandom, which they're going to be announcing the new Suicide Squad game. They're also going to be showing off or announcing the new Batman game. Lots of rumors, lots of talks about that. You've played the Arkham games before, right?
yes.
Are you interested in this at all? Excited for this?
Yep. Looking forward to it. Curious to see if there's anything new to them that would catch my eye. But even if not, even if I get another Arkham game just with Suicide Squad or like just so that, I would be fine with it as well. I then probably won't buy it at launch, but I would play it eventually if it is of similar quality.
There's the rumors are that the Batman game is going to take place around the Court of Owls storyline, which I don't know anything about this, but apparently this is a somewhat newer storyline in the comics that was very well received from fans. So I think it's cool that they're going to be changing this up and not just kind of do the same old thing with Batman.
Yeah, that's cool.
We also have Gamescom opening night, which is starting, I think it's August 27th is when that's going to be going on, and that's going to be hosted by Jeff Keighley. He sounds like he's, I know, who else? It sounds like he's trying to kind of make a big, almost like an E3 set of announcements from that. So I'm hoping that we get some announcements, some more news, some information, some gameplay,
Could the
some
Gamescom
demos.
be actually the big winner of the pandemic?
Could what?
The Gamescom be the big winner of the pandemic?
It's possible. I mean,
struck down E3 and everything else, and it's like the only thing going on now.
Gamescom is always massive, and I mean, even though it's only going online, I'm still expecting it to be huge in terms of turnout and just kind of announcements and what's going on with that. I really haven't looked too much into it, how they're doing it. I guess it's just going to be streams of just different announcements, different games and things like that. But yeah, I'm really excited to just kind of watch that as it happens, watch it unfold. Okay, so let's change gears a little bit. We're going to try something a little different. I thought it would be fun to do something called Friendly Wagers. And this can be something that we can all kind of participate in. But what we are going to do is each week we are going to have a different bet that we are going to bet on for the week. And the way it's going to work is Akko and I will each come up with a bet, and the next week we'll look at the results, and whoever wins will just get a point. And then I think like at the end of the year we can just like add it up and see who wins, and I don't know, maybe we'll make like a fake crown or something like that. So for this week, what we're going to do is, and you don't have to come up with this right away. I'll maybe save this to the end to get your prediction. But what we're going to do is we are going to Wasteland 3 launches next Friday, and I am going to next Friday when it launches, I'm going to go to twitch.tv and I'm going to find out how many people are streaming that game. And what I want us to do is bet on that number.
Well, is it the number of people streaming or the number of people?
The number of views. I should have said the number of views. So the number of currently live views for Wasteland 3.
At what time?
Let's just say we could do it live. We could do it like during the podcast. So yeah, we'll say like I don't know, 3 o'clock my time. That'll be 10 o'clock your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. So let's not say our numbers yet. I think I might try and set something up in the Discord as well for other people to post, because I think it would be fun to just like kind of, you know, keep track of what people bet on with that. Are you writing yours down right now?
Yes.
Akko is very intensely writing something right now. I'm gonna write mine down as well. Let's move into some questions. We got some good questions this week. I think maybe we only do like 2 of these, and then maybe save a couple of these for next week as well.
That sounds good.
Let's start out with Basically Dad, though. He asks, if I was blind, what game or games would you recommend I experience? Either playing the game myself or through a VOD/stream. This is an interesting question. I don't know.
I would say the most you would get out of a game like Her Story or Telling Lies, where you it's mostly dialogue, but like basically just from the audio you would get 80% of the game.
Disco Elysium could be a good one. That's like mostly audio. Interestingly enough, shoot, I just went blank. Oh, The Last of Us 2. Not only could you watch that, it has like full accessibility options that blind people can literally like play the entire game and get through that game with the accessibility options. It has some of the most impressive accessibility options I've ever seen. But yeah, I feel like something like a visual novel or something like that would probably be best. I think Disco Elysium would be a good one, because you would have to have somebody like playing it. You know, if you're watching a stream, you'd have to have somebody that's going to read all the audio and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. If you guys have any other answers, let us know. Or if you know anybody with disabilities too, I think that would be interesting to hear about people that have disabilities and play games. I always find that interesting. We could also kind of throw in this question that Pi asked, because he said on the subject of handicaps, just talking about controls for handicapped people help. I saw someone online combine both Switch controllers into one and being able to control with both one hand. I don't know how in the world that really happens, but that's interesting. And then he says also the Xbox handicap controller has like a million different things you can do with it. The Xbox, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I don't think it's just called the handicap controller, but you know what I'm talking about? The controller that Xbox came out with.
Seen it.
It's really interesting, and a lot of handicapped people have said it's like just a lifesaver and allows them to to do all kinds of really cool things with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that is something where, especially, I feel like AAA games could do a better job of giving more accessibility options of different kinds. Like, I think it's great that Last of Us 2 did that, and I think especially the big companies that do have the money behind them to put in some extra options. I think it would be great to see more of that coming in the next generation to those big AAA games.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do one other question. Let's do this question from Just Possum, or just Opossum. I guess it depends on. Do you say Opossum or Possum?
Opossum.
I say Possum. I think the O is supposed to be silent.
Not here.
She asks, if you could take a holiday in one of the games you've played, which would it be? Which we've had that question, I feel like, a couple of times, but I like how she adds onto this and she says, no missions, no quests, no nothing, just chilling. So I also take that to kind of mean like no monsters. Because I feel like there's a lot of games that like I would want to visit, but I wouldn't necessarily want to deal with like the enemies in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, okay, I would say Red Dead Redemption 2 in the cooler areas. I like the landscape there, so I'd go with that.
What?
Just to not always answer with Kirby's Dream Land.
Would you just want to like be in that environment just to see it, or just to like you think it would just be like a relaxing environment?
Yeah.
And would you want to like what would you want to do?
I don't know. Have a farm. I don't know.
I mean, you could do that right now.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I don't know. I think I would just getting around, just visiting the lands and chilling out in the mountains. Getting eaten by jackals.
There's definitely some beautiful environments there. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like something like Breath of the Wild would be really fun to visit. Like if there weren't any of the monsters or major threats or anything like that, just like exploring that world would be really fun.
True.
Subnautica would also be interesting. Like even though I'm not crazy about super deep underwater stuff, just I don't know. Like I feel like, well, I guess it depends on. If you're just starting out in that game, you don't really have a lot of stuff. But once you get the upgrades, like to have a giant submarine and just explore the ocean, that would be really fun.
I guess so. Yeah, that part would be fun. Terrifying, but I guess fun.
Oh, I know. Mass Effect universe.
Just waiting for that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the Mass Effect universe, especially without like the Reapers. That would absolutely be the world that I would want to live in.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like space travel terrifies me too much.
Well, I mean, I would love the space travel, but you wouldn't even just want to like just be transported to the Citadel and just have a vacation on the Citadel.
I mean, I can walk around in a mall here too.
Akko, like a mall and the Citadel are two very different things.
Not really. Like if you're just in the Citadel, it's pretty much a giant mall.
My name is Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite mall in the Citadel.
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know, everyone. Where would you like to go on holiday in a game universe? If there weren't any threats or monsters or any quests or anything like that? What world would you just like to visit? Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and move on to our games of the generation discussion. We have slowly been going through all of the games that we feel are noteworthy, games that stand out, games that we want to mention, and we are building quite a list. We're also kind of narrowing down the games that we have left. So if you guys have any that we haven't mentioned, please do let us know. I'll just go through the games once again. Akko, I'll let you pick out a game while I'm looking through these. While I'm reading these. So the games that we've mentioned so far are Dark Souls 3, The Witcher 3, Watch Dogs, Fortnite, Rocket League, Persona 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, PT, Bloodborne, Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man for PS4, Hollow Knight, God of War, and Sekiro.
Yes. I don't know what to pick, but I would pick... You have some good ones still left, excuse me.
Can I pick one for you to pick?
Okay, sure.
All right, Yakuza 0.
I mean, I don't know anything about that game. So I just have to wing it and say that it's probably my second favorite game of all time, and I love it dearly. It's a fantastic game with one of the best made stories in video games, while also some of the most creative and diverse types of side quests that will melt your brain.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I haven't played this one, but I would. Well, I'll just leave it up to you because I know that you know this world way better than I do. But I mean, I would say that it's also noteworthy because I feel like it is just kind of the game that got everyone else interested in Yakuza. Because Yakuza seems, my understanding is like it was huge and still is huge in Japan, but was never really big over here until Yakuza 0 came out, and then everyone was like, "Oh, this is actually really fun."
Yeah, it definitely opened up the Western market a little bit more, and it was also technically impressive, especially in terms of facial animation, and it looks really good, and just has a lot. You just have a lot of love for detail in that world. It's not you're not in huge maps, but there's just so much detail, and there's always so much going on. It feels so vibrant and alive playing that game. And again, such excellently written main story and great characters, and just also so many different aspects put into a game. Both a very serious story, lots of fun and comedy and mini games and all of that, but it all fits together very well. It doesn't feel disjointed. It all fits organically together, and I don't know how they did it, but they did it really well.
There's just something that's just so interesting too about just Japanese culture in general. I think from a non-native of Japan, it's just like the difference between America and Europe is like there's a lot of differences, but when you go from like America or Europe to Japan, there are just so many differences and just so many interesting cultural differences that Japan is just fascinating to me with their culture. Let's see. We are really narrowing it down here. We don't have many choices left, but I think I would throw out, I guess, Divinity Original Sin. I would talk about. I would kind of group we have Divinity Original Sin 2 listed on here, but I would kind of group 1 and 2 just kind of together. Just the Original Sin universe, I guess. Because I feel like that is, while 2 is probably a little bit more popular, I feel like Larian Studios really just kind of changed maybe not really changed the world of RPGs, but really just kind of brought back the popularity of those really old school kind of CRPGs, but also opened it up and made it accessible for people to play on consoles, and people that maybe weren't, hadn't played those old CRPGs like that before. But just the amount of work that they put into those games is just unbelievable. The amount of dialogue and text that they put into those games. I didn't mention this in the news, but I did mean to mention that Baldur's Gate 3 also had a quick announcement, and their early access is going to be launching September 30th for that now. But yeah, that just, I guess that kind of shows you just how big that franchise has become now, that, Larian Studios, the creators of Divinity, literally have like one of the biggest CRPG IPs out there now with Baldur's Gate. And that's, I think, directly because of Divinity, that they proved that they can make such a great game.
Yeah, how Divinity came to pass, how they financed it, and it was a long and arduous way for them to put it all together, and put a lot of content out there, a lot of good content, and like you said, they not only took that kind of old school RPG, but also put some fresh air into it, and really revitalized it, I think, for a new audience now.
And I think a lot of people say that I've never gotten into like a tabletop RPG or anything like that, or D&D or anything. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be like even more like this. But a lot of people have said that like that's one of the closest experiences you can have to playing like a video game version of D&D or something like that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of these aspects, and it gives you lots of freedom. And it's just a fantastic game by a very interesting studio, and excited for Baldur's Gate. It's excited to see how that turns out. Visit to check it out.
Absolutely. All right, Akko, it is time for our bets now. I wrote mine down as well. You want to reveal on 3?
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can even see mine. It also might be backwards. Okay, so I had 43,000. What did you have?
120,000.
Oh, wow. I think it's so interesting because like it really could go either way. Like you could get, a few really big streamers that play that game, that could bump the numbers up, or you could just have like a bunch of smaller people playing that game. So if you're just joining us again, what we are doing is we're going to do kind of a weekly betting segment on the show, and this week's bet is next week I will go to twitch.tv and look up Wasteland 3, which is launching next Friday, and we're going to see how many live viewers it has at the time of looking that up. Whoever is closest will get a point, and we will keep doing that. And then at the end of the year, we'll do something. I don't know. But I think that is going to wrap it up for today. Unless you have anything else that you want to mention?
No, because I want to mention that people should be careful while having onions in a frying pan, because this is not a pimple or a scar. This is what happens when you fry an onion and it jumps out of the pan into your face and lands on there. So
public safety announcement.
Yes.
Don't just wear goggles for cutting onions, but also for cooking them.
The best is like going full night gear.
Yeah.
Full chainmail. It's the best for cooking.
Full gas mask.
Everything.
That's the way to go. Well, Akko, thank you so much for joining me. Do you have anything coming up this week?
No, I'm just gonna play some Call of Duty, as I mentioned. I'm trying to check out the campaigns there. Maybe also want to check out Mad Max, and that's about it.
Yeah, Mad Max. Cool. Well, let's see. I will be continuing Resident Evil Revelations 2 during the day, and probably just checking out some other random games throughout the week. Very excited about Wasteland 3 coming up. and also really interested in checking out that Windbound game. But yeah, until next time, we will see you guys next week. You can watch the show live at twitch.tv/how451 every Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time. But until then, we will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.